So we at Bark, unfortunately, detect issues around online child predation very frequently. Last year alone, we escalated 450 online child predators to law enforcement. And so we know that it's a common problem. Unfortunately, we think most parents underestimate the commonality of that problem.
We decided to go undercover as multiple children on social media and post innocuous content to see what would happen. We had to be very intentional with everything we did. We had to create personas. They had to have believable date of births, and we had to know everything about the city that they lived in, and we had to create storylines, and we worked closely with law enforcement.
And basically just pushed go. We put everything live, and we documented what happened.
Within the first hour of posting on Libby's accounts, 7 adult men contacted her. By the end of 9 days, that number was 92. The conversations ranged in severity from making sexual comments to sharing and requesting explicit photos and videos to manipulation and threats.
We had to deploy an entire team, around the clock to responding because the rate at which these messages came in was mind-boggling. And of course, when you're dealing with social media and the internet, it's a global thing. It's not just an East Coast thing or a US-based thing. There were men that wanted to talk to children for nefarious purposes at all hours of the day and night.
We tried it with younger personas as well, even an 11-year-old.
We launched our 11-year-old persona online.
It's 4:44 and go. One like from a guy whose profile photo is a penis.
So let's say 1 minute and 7 seconds. We have a message request.
Although 2 more requests just came in. How much time? A minute and 40 seconds?
Yeah.
How
old are you? You go to the profile, you know that is a child. It also says in the profile that the child is in 6th grade.
Another one.
It's just lighting up, like the inbox is just boom, 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 boom.
An incoming video call in less than 5 minutes.
I can't see you. Don't be shy.
They all say don't be shy.
This happens to all types of children. This is not just kids who might be at risk. Oftentimes it's a child who's simply bored in their bedroom at night.
And I cannot tell you how many children I see in their bedrooms on live stream with tons of people just watching them, asking them to do certain things.
When parents allow their kids to have that device in their rooms at night, where are your parents? Then come the grooming question, where are your parents? Are you on an iPhone or are you on an iPad? What school are you? What are you wearing? Oh, your makeup looks so beautiful.
It's not uncommon for grooming behavior to include showing minors images of pornography to help them to think that is normal. And then that can be a progression towards engaging them in sexual activity.
Do you want that? Do you want that as a parent? Strangers in your child's room while you're sleeping? Would you leave the door open with a sign that says, my daughter's bedroom is the second one on the left, and then go to bed?
We have traded a false sense of safety and security for actually putting our kids in riskier situations.
There are some that are just there for a quick fix. They want to see something, a body part or a live video, and then you might not hear from them again. But there are others, they use psychological strategies to methodically groom children by forming a friendship, by showing care. And then it escalates into more of a controlling relationship.
What do predators do with the pictures and videos they get from kids? They keep it, or they trade it.
Last year alone, we received over 18 million reports of international and domestic online child sexual abuse. Between 2017 and 2018, video files reported to NCMEC increased 541%. We're seeing reports with graphic and violent sexual images of young children, including infants, and reports of on-demand sexual abuse known as live streaming.
Unfortunately, some of those were people who wanted to actually meet the child in person, which could have been just because they wanted to have sex with a minor. And sometimes we believed that it was because they might be part of a sex trafficking ring wanting to actually traffic the child.
It was a tough decision, but if Keith wanted to meet Libby in person, we would let him.
Oh, hi. Good, how are you? Nice to meet you too. I've never done anything like this before, so I'm a little nervous.
It's the first for everything.
Yeah.
Don't be. I'm not gonna rush you. We can just go upstairs and talk.
Are you okay with me being 15?
I've never done it. But it's okay.
The project has also resulted in numerous arrests, and that's great. Unfortunately, it's a drop in the bucket.
The average internet predator has 250 victims in their lifetime. One person has that many victims in their lifetime if they're not caught. So what happens in the law enforcement arena, that cops are not getting this technology training.
The problem is so big. I mean, we would need to employ so many more officers trained in dealing with this issue.
When you're a law enforcement professional and you're looking at more cases than you can ever possibly get to, unfortunately, a lot of those get triaged so low that they never actually get investigated. And so, unfortunately, that allows predators to keep doing exactly what they're doing without as much consequence.
I think about how I would have felt as a young, impressionable child. I would have kept the abuses to myself for fear of being shamed and blamed. I would have suffered with it, secretly and quietly.
It's important, really, to never start that process because as a child, once you're in it, it's very hard to get out of it. Very hard to come forward and tell your parent, this is what's happening to me.
Do you think your parents know that this happens?
Oh, no.
No.
I wouldn't be allowed to have a phone.
Oh, if they knew what was going on, it would be strict.
And so if you, as a parent or caregiver, can be an open, honest, soft place for your child to come and say, hey, look, everybody makes bad choices. I'm here for you, and we'll get through this together.
There's no bigger God's gift than a mother's intuition. When a mom knows something, feels something, there's something wrong with their kids. And God's given this to moms to protect their babies, whether their babies are 6 months old or 40, that never goes away. So I always tell moms to follow that, and it'll never lead them astray.
The best line of defense by far is to have active and engaged parents who understand what their child might be encountering online. Children are unfortunately left to deal with this all on their own. And they're not, we're talking about 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old kids who are not equipped to deal with this in a vacuum. And so it really takes that guardian and parent support system.
We always knew where our next meal was coming from. I don't want to say, but there wasn't much money. And in that middle of that time, we'd had tragedy. We lost my sister, older sister died of pneumonia. And we talk about the good old days, but we didn't have the medical care back then that we have now. And then in the following February, my mother had a little sister, Carolina, and she had a heart defect and couldn't be saved. So my parents lost 2 children in less than a year.
The kind of things you did.
Sure, yeah. Jack is, I have two boys, John and Jack. Jack's younger of the two. John's 21, Jack was 15. Jack was a very outgoing, typical teenager at 14 and 15, rambunctious, outgoing, very compassionate, pretty much an empathetic kid.
He was a really sensitive person, and I think that was one of his best attributes, because he could like tell when you were feeling down, and without even asking you or having a conversation with you, he just could like pick that up. Total empath.
He was so kind to other kids. And I wonder if that sense of kindness made him more susceptible to feeling.
Was there much talk of, did you remember there being suicides or anything like that?
Never. I never have heard that. We were worried. We were more worried about physical illnesses, but I don't remember there being a problem with suicide.
You know, I've always liked technology, and I will say that it was hard to keep up with it, but I would stay up sometimes very late trying to figure out what my son was doing on his phone and figuring out how to use all the same apps that he used, so that I never got behind on that stuff. But, you know, that's a really difficult thing to do. I knew that it was working because Jack told me one day, "Mom, I give up. You're too smart. I cannot keep up with you, and I'm just going to tell you everything now." And he did, except one thing.
Definitely the worst day of my life was getting that phone call from my parents.
He didn't do it on purpose, and he didn't do it to hurt us. You know, he was just in a lot of pain.
Jack struggled for 9 days in the hospital. And then after about 6 weeks, we were able to crack his phone.
Someone said that there was, you know, some stuff on sale at Home Depot that would help you basically off yourself. And other kids would just come right out and say, text, you know, just go kill yourself. And then this is not uncommon. He's not the first kid that's had that happen to him.
Why did I not know what anxiety was, and why do you know? I guess they've been a little bit better about.
But even then, they only made it known to us after 4 kids killed themselves.
That's true.
In Littleton alone, at the beginning of the year, there were multiple suicides before school even started.
At Children's Hospital, there is a new program for 10-year-olds and over, and they say, have you ever thought about killing yourself? Have you ever tried to hurt yourself? How do you feel about that?
So I work in one of the busiest pediatric emergency departments in the country. At any given time, we can easily have 4 or 5, sometimes 6 patients who are there waiting for a mental health evaluation or waiting to be transferred for inpatient treatment.
You hear from the CDC that suicide is the second leading cause of death in children ages 10 to 24.
In Colorado, suicide is the #1 cause of death for individuals 10 to 24.
And every day we send out, over a dozen imminent suicide alerts every single day.
It was such a rare occurrence to see that. Now it is commonplace. Has something changed about us biologically?
From 2000 and 2007, the suicide rate seemed virtually was pretty stable and had, if anything, some years fluctuated down. But then we saw a beginning trend, and it became evident over time that it was increasing from 2010 to 2017.
Not only teen suicide, but child suicide, like 10 or 9 years old.
I said, all right, sure, what do you got? He goes, well, Friday night, I had 2 10-year-olds on Snapchat. One thought it'd be a funny idea to talk the other one into committing suicide. And she did it. She's dead.
So 43% of 1.12 million children that presented to the ERs for suicidal ideation